You just said something that was real good. We always know that we're not going to stay in the season. But I don't think we live like that. I don't think people live knowing this season, whether it's wonderful or it's terrible or it's mid, that this season must end and then there's going to be something else. Welcome back to the My Boulevard podcast. As we wrap up this year, we want to slow down and make space to breathe. Before jumping into new goals or plans, this episode is about reorienting your hearts and asking, what season am I actually in? And how is God inviting me to trust Him right now? So let's reflect together and prepare for what the next season has. Let's reflect, though, with hope and with intention. And it's my joy because I know you have 4 points, 3 alliterations, 12 steps, and some great ideas on how we can do this. So I'm excited to kind of interview you today on how we're going to make this happen.
So I got to admit, it is one of the favorite things to teach. People always talk about Dahadiism,
yes,
and part of it is because I only got 7 good things to say. So I've embraced that reality.
But that's smart. You know your lane. I like it.
And so, I would say out of what I love is one is ministry where life exists. That is something that, another thing that I genuinely love talking about is the idea of just emotions, being present and emotions and all that. And then I would say like this idea of time and management and stewardship of time, I think is also a big one for me. Great. And so I would say, so it is a thing that I love. And I do have a couple of 4 points and 3 alliterations.
That was not shade. I know you. That's good. That's good. Okay. Well, before we jump into those, I would love for you, we can both do this, share a favorite moment or a lesson from this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy for me. It's turning 50.
Okay.
Turning 50. My wife and I got a chance to go, to Germany, to all the different places in Europe.
Amsterdam,
all the different things. And I got on can I say old people cruise? But it was a great cruise.
It was not like the Disney cruise, right?
It wasn't a Disney cruise. So if you think ocean cruises, it's anything but that. It was a river cruise that we went to. I recommended for anybody and all that. But the reason why I say old people cruise is because I turned 50. Angie's younger than me, but I turned 50. And the next youngest person that I remember talking to in that cruise was 70 years old.
Okay, so y'all were the babies on the cruise.
We were the babies of the cruise. We were the babies of the cruise.
That has to feel good when you're turning 50 and I'm not the oldest person in the room. No, right?
And I was just like, so I loved it. Now, again, that wasn't the favorite part of it. Going and just being and sitting and just losing yourself in the vacation. It's probably one of the first times that I could truly say it was a genuine vacation. Because, old people who in their latter years, if I could say it that way, they know how to take a break. Yes. They know how to rest.
They know how to live.
They know how.
Yes.
And I absolutely love it. So you say, for me, my favorite moment was that. And it was anything but. I'm just letting you know. Their main attraction was the library. They had so they had a library. That was their thing, a library, and they had one person playing the piano. That was their entertainment. So I just want you to know, that was this one person playing the piano at night.
Okay.
And a library.
Was there any neon on this cruise?
No.
No neon.
Nothing.
Okay.
So
there were not kids running around.
If you were to tell me plan a vacation, this is not the vacation I would have planned.
Right.
But this was the best, most rich, most rewarding. You needed. Just being with Angie.
Shout out to Angie Lewis.
God,
that's
all of those
awesome.
things. It was amazing.
I'm so glad. So it was great. 30 was a moment for you. Yes. And you got to enjoy it. That's great.
But what about you?
I would say mine was less about a moment and more about a lesson.
Okay.
This year was crazy. And from top to bottom, it was been one kind of adventure after another. And I think the lesson for me is that the Lord is my provider and my sustainer. And He has continued to show us in season after season this year just how intimately and intricately he is involved in our lives, our day-to-day, meeting our needs, giving us great moments. Like we did, my family, some of us got to take a trip. We have never done anything like an international trip somewhere. We felt like, who are we? We got to do it, and it was incredible. But I really believe it was the crazy way that the Lord provided for it.
Yes.
That he was like, this is not because you're great. This is not because you work so hard. This is because I'm good. Yeah. And I'm providing for you. And then when we had to move on a dime to another city, another state, when we needed to just be able to show up for, I mean, he just over and over again just reminded us.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I got to admit, I thought you was going to say how the Lord had to overcome the stubbornness of the human heart, because some people don't like moving to certain places.
Some people don't like moving at all. Okay. So that's the first thing. And this would be move, I don't know, 14 or 15 for us. But some people did pray hard, and the Lord chose to listen to them.
He answers. The prayers of the righteous still avails much.
Yes, we still have moments when I'm driving my daughter to work and I'm like, baby girl, we live here. This is crazy, right? She's like, Mom, it's still crazy. But it's good. It's good. Yes. He's continued to show us that he's our provider. So that's good. What's something that God has taught you about timing?
Well, I mean, I think just when we think about time and stories, like right now, I mean, I'm back pastoring Blueprint on a day-to-day. I would have never thought that would have been the case.
It's true.
I am, I have 4 out of my 6 children are in college right now.
You're talking about provision.
I mean, I'm like, goodness. And listen, here's the thing. My daughter's about to graduate this month.
That's so awesome.
Right? So it's just like she's graduating, so about to, have that, and she's about to go for internship and come. So basically, long story short, like I will have potentially in 2 years, empty nested, but also have 6 kids in college at the same time. And it's just like you think about that and you just get, whoa, that's a lot. And now, it's like, what's not to get overwhelmed about that? But then I start thinking about it, and it's just like to the point of what this podcast and this episode is about. This episode is about seasons. Right? Like we are in the end of our season, with season 5, where all of these things, but it's just like, it's all about season. And I think the Lord teaches us, it has so much to say about seasons. And, and the first passage that always comes to me when we talk about seasons is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, 1-8.
Well, when we think about that, before we even talk about particular seasons, one of the things that I have personally embraced in certain seasons, I'm not doing it right now, but is hustle culture. Like just feeling like sometimes even my value comes in how hard I can work and how much I can grind. And I had to admit that in those seasons, the things that have always suffered is relationships and holy rhythms.
Yes.
Always. I cannot do it all. I can't be full-time 60 things and full-time 30 other things and present in all the other 90 things. And what I recognized is that there is a thing called a season, and that I have to have the humility to say there's no such thing as balance. I have to focus on what's major in this season, and I need to reorient. And so I would love to hear you and some of your Dahadiisms when you think about Ecclesiastes 3, 1-8, that whole there is a time, a season for everything.
Yeah, and I think, for those that don't know, it is when Solomon is going through and he's talking about there's a season and a time for everything, right? And when we think about this concept of time, we think about time in 2 forms. One is chronos, is where we get the word chronology. Right. And that just literally means the time. Like I lived on earth for 50 years. That is a time period, a duration of time. So chronos. And then the other one is kairos or kainos, which basically means how do we maximize that time, the season that in. So it's one thing to live for a certain time, but the question is, are we taking up space in that time? And I think that there's a difference between the two, because some of us are just like allowing time to pass, right? And some people are taking up space in that time. And I think that is it. And in that passage, again, what you see is like, it seems like things that are diametrically opposed to one another: a time to live, a time to die, a time to kill, a time to be killed. It's just like all these things that are in there. They seem like those don't seem like they're compatible. And there's even some things in there that just like, is there ever really a time to just do that? Right.
Right.
But ultimately you have kind of this tension. And I think it's meant for us to to wrestle with that tension, and what's interesting about that, because as Solomon is going, he's known as he's the wisest person ever on the earth, all the things that we see. But what I do want to read this one, because after he goes through and he ends it off, and I'll just read the last few. It says, there's a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate. That's one of those things I was like, is it? But it's just like, I guess there are things that the Lord even hates. Right? There's a time for war and a time for peace. But here's where I love about it, and this is what it teaches me and teaches us about seasons. Verse 9, it says, what does the worker, that's you and I, gain from his struggles? Right? I have seen the task that God has given the children of Adam to keep them occupied. He has made everything appropriate in its time. And he also put eternity in man's heart. And so I think that is so rich with content, because he said he has placed this God-sized void, eternity, in each and every one of us. But he also recognized that there is this struggle that we have, so that, like that, he says that the children of Adam, that we, men and women, have had to maximize our time, kainos or kairos, right? To fill up the time, and that we were meant to take up space in this life. We were meant to not just exist, right? We talked about like this idea, that your husband phrase, like you're born, you suffer, you die, right? And it's just like but oftentimes they talk about, but there's a loophole, and I've been really rocked by Genesis, talking about what this loophole is, and really what's the goal of man, right? What's the goal of man? Is it to slay our Goliaths? Is it to have such great faith like Abraham?
Right.
Is it to, do all the things that all these great people, Samson and all these great people did? And what I love about it is that in the first few chapters of Genesis, like all of the things, and you know what the Bible celebrates the most? And it said between Adam, Enoch, and Noah. Adam, he walked with God. Enoch, he walked with God. Noah, he walked with God.
Okay, so how do people know? We could say, I'm spending time with the Lord and he's going to give me clarity, but how can I discern? How can people discern what season they're in?
Well, I think the thing, the beautiful thing is to recognize whatever season we're in, the Bible tells us to be ready in season and out of season.
True.
So part of this is not necessarily trying to discern what season we're in, because here's the reality about season. And this is the other thing that when we talk about the kairos versus kairos, is that what I've learned about seasons and the way that God teaches us to experience seasons, especially if you live in other places like that's not California, that don't have real seasons,
or Atlanta, because why is it 75 degrees?
But
what are we talking about?
But it gets cold. It will get cold.
75 degrees
right now.
And it was 81 degrees.
The Lord right now.
I want to experience fall. Forgive me.
Praise the Lord.
Forgive me. The Lord has given us seasons.
So you're asking what season?
Yeah, I don't know. I
don't know what season we're currently in Atlanta. However, I am grateful for today. We
cannot discern our season.
Yes. So, but here's the thing but the reality is that we have 4 seasons in a year.
Right. It's so good.
Winter, fall, spring, right? And so like there's 4 seasons that we have in a year. And the thing is that we know that whatever season that we're currently in, we're not going to stay in that season. And so if we just put, our seasons in that, like spring season is a time where it's a bountiful. Things are just, all the things that we wanted to happen is just taking place. The fall season is the season where like we're just kind of shedding off the old and preparing in a sense of like getting ready for winter. Winter is coming. Right.
But you know what? I don't think you just said something that was real good. And I don't think people recognize that. We always know that we're not going to stay in the season. But I don't think we live like that. I don't think people live knowing this season, whether it's wonderful or it's terrible or it's mid, that this season must end. And then there's going to be something else on the backside. And I think that is probably why often it's hard to discern your season, because it's just, we believe it's just this static life has just been good, or life has just been calm, or life has just been tragic.
Yeah. And I think when you think about that, whether it's through birth or death, it's through uprooting, whether it's you're mourning or you're celebrating or all of those things is that, we can't, and I think for some of us, we take whatever is going on in the current moment as a season in a sense. And that just may be, you may just be having a day in a season.
Right.
And all of that.
Was it a bad 5 minutes or has it been a bad year? Right.
Is
it's
this
a difference.
75 day
yes.
when we're in winter season, or is this really a season? And, and I think oftentimes being able to discern the season that you're in is the ability to stop and to reflect on kind of the current moment that is taking place, right? And so I do think that there is a reality that that we have. So let me ask you, what type of season would you say this is? A spring season, a winter season, a fall season, or a summer season? Like, what if we were to use this, what kind of season would this be for you? Your current life right now.
You're wrong. No, I'm just playing. I would say if you would have asked me probably 2 months ago, I'd have said winter.
Okay.
I'd have been like, it just feels like I can't breathe, I can't think, I can't see, I can't. But I actually would more say that it's spring. Okay. There's this sense of, I see the buds. I see, life is happening. Something's springing up. I can't fully, I can't pick the fruit off the tree yet.
Yes.
But I see that there's the beginnings of those buds. And so I would say spring.
That's good. And so I think that's what you're talking about, because that was the question. He says, how do we discern the season?
Yeah.
And so you just went through a process right there.
That's so good.
Right. And just being able to say, okay, let me stop. Let me reflect on current realities. And, with all the analogies and metaphors that you used about budding and flowers and blooming and all of those things that you use in the season, you were associating real tangible things in your life to associate with those, right? Those things and those seasons. And I think that part of that is just stopping, pausing and reflecting on it, in which oftentimes we are so caught up in just the now that we miss all of what God's doing, because it doesn't mean that you haven't had hard conversations, right?
True,
right? It doesn't mean that you haven't, but it's just but in terms of a season, right? You would say, you would characterize it as that, right?
What was good about just that quick moment is that often when you think about, you said people should take time, particularly leaders should take time to reflect. And I would say, who has time to reflect? Right. Life is crazy. It's too much. I got too much going on. But yet that reflection wasn't take a day-long retreat.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily mean I have to go away and get a hotel room to reflect. I can honestly say, and even in a few minutes, if I was to have done this and just wrote in a journal or, you know what I'm saying, talked into my phone, that's a moment of reflection and being able to capture that for myself. And then this is how I can see the season I'm in.
But it also, I think the Psalms, remember, let's remind ourselves, the Psalm says, blessed is the one who, walks out in the counsel of God, nor stands in the path of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, which he
meditates
day and night. He thinks, he processes day and night. And so part of it is that that moment we just had of processing of what season we're in, the Bible tells us we are to abide. That word meditate is the same, we talk about ruminate, right? And when you ruminate, it's it's a cow, you're chewing, and chews, and then it eats it, and then it brings it back up. I was about
to say, we don't even got to talk about what the cow does, right?
Yeah, because it is kind of a disgusting analogy. Right? However, but it's you bring it back and you chew on it more.
He's chewing on it,
And you can do that throughout. You don't like you said, you don't have to get away and do all these things.
Right.
I think there's time and spaces for that.
You can, right, but it's not required.
It's not required.
Right.
It's not required to reflect on the season that we're in. And here's the thing, the goal is not always to be in spring.
No, and you know what? This was beautiful because in my last season when I felt like it was winter, I was challenging myself to find the hope. I was challenging myself to not complain. I was even asking people to remind me, this is not a season to complain because God has proven himself. He has shown me that he is my provider, that he's trustworthy. So whether it was planting or pruning or waiting, there was supposed to be this hope because Christ is my gift. He's here. He's present. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And so ultimately what it's saying is like, no matter what season we're in, God is up to something. He is doing something that's appropriate for that time in that season. And so there's an element of trusting God, whatever season that we're in, because there's so many examples in the Bible that we can look at what we would consider winter seasons or spring seasons, right? Winter seasons, he talks about the ant stores up.
Yes.
Right. And it stores up and creates, or we see in even a fruitful and bountiful season, we see when Joseph, right, he is in with Egypt. And that was the thing, it's like, hey, this is bountiful for now, but guess what? There's a season coming where it's not going to be so bountiful.
Yes.
So be ready, store up. And so it's just like you're preparing for the season. And every season that we recognize, whether it's good or it's bad, it's not going to last forever.
That's so good. That's so good.
You know, and so preparing, I think, is important to understand that.
Okay. Well, I do know that you're also big on actual calendaring, right? Your 90 days, you live in those 90 days and you do the, what is it, map?
Ministry action plans. I do, map out 90 days planning.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how do we keep our hope rooted when our year doesn't turn out like we planned? Like I can plan out 90 days and I know we in the branch house say we don't believe in luck, but if we did, the only kind we have is bad, right?
Yeah.
When you feel like I made this plan, I want to do this in 90 days, nothing has worked according to that plan.
Well, it feels like I've become an expert in that. Like creating a plan and it is not working. Okay. So it's one thing for me to constantly say, hey, this 90 days is going to happen.
Many are the plans in a man's mind, right?
Yeah, and they just don't come out. One of the things I find hope in is that, you know, God said in Genesis chapter 1, let there be light. And the next verse is, and there was light. For the rest of us, God is the only person that whatever's in his heart, in his mind, whatever he's thought and imagined, whatever he decrees it comes out exactly the way he thought.
Yes.
For the rest of us, we say, let there be light, and we get flickers. we get everything but light sometimes.
Or burn something down.
Yeah, burn something. Sometimes sometimes it's way more light than we expected.
Yeah, we blinded by it now, right.
So it's never exactly what we imagine, or it's rarely exactly what we imagine. But I think there's the beauty and the grace that we have. It doesn't mean that we stop planning or we stop decreeing or start dreaming. It just, you know, we set out to do and to accomplish and to create. And I think sometimes life punches us in the face. The old prophet Mike Tyson always said, you know, right? It's just like everybody has a plan. You get punched in the mouth.
Plan.
And that's what happens. Every 90 days we get punched in the mouth. And oftentimes it doesn't turn out exactly the way that we thought. But it's okay. There's grace in that. And I'll just use this one thing, one story, because I remember like I was coaching a football team. And I was my football coach. We was playing and all that. And I went in, and the team before was 3-7. So there was 3-7, but I knew what they had. I was just like, you guys are talented. You guys just didn't have a right coach. It was just, all the things. You're 1 year older and all that. So I went into day one. I'm the head coach of this team, coaching high school. And I'm like, hey, you guys, we're going to win the championship this year. We are going to win the championship. That is our goal.
That's our goal.
Right?
Okay.
That is our goal. So that was a bold declaration, a bold goal for a team that was 3-7 the year previous, right? So we go in, and guess what? We win games. We win games, and we get all the way to the championship game.
Wow.
We got to the championship game with one loss. We only lost one time the whole year.
Okay.
We're in the championship game.
Coach.
Playing a team that we already beat.
Oh, okay. Come
on. I was like, come on, Jesus.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? We ready. Let there be light, and this is going to be light. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be light.
Yes.
All right, only to lose that game, getting blown up by 50 points.
It's not funny. It's not funny.
Listen.
It's not funny, but you know what? You did your thing as a coach, though.
We did. Lost in the championship game by 50 points.
Wow.
That game, and it was so sad.
Yeah.
So sad. But here's the thing. So it didn't turn out the way that I thought.
Right. Yes.
Let there be light, and there wasn't light.
And it was
close,
not light.
But it wasn't light.
We could almost see.
Yes, we can see the light. It was like the door was closed. We could see light through the doorway.
Yes.
But it wasn't light.
Oh.
So you know what my message was to them? I went in and I said, hey, you guys, we didn't reach our goal. But God's grace is still sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we reach our goal, we still learned and we still enjoyed and we still, all of those things. You think about all the promises that were given. Abram never reached the promised land, right? Never in its fullness, right? And never experienced it at all, right? You look at Moses, never reaching, but saw it on the other side of the hill, pointing the next generation and, to say it. And I think oftentimes we put too much stock in our failure or success. And I've been reading this book by Mark Batterson, talk about gradually but sudden. And I think one of the quotes that he says, success is not about what you can accomplish in this lifetime, but success is about what others can accomplish because of your life.
Wow.
And I think that when we set up other generations to live in the reality that we hope and desire, it just changes the game. It changes, it doesn't mean we were failures. It means there was a reason why we had to stop short.
Yeah, and that gives a lot of value to pioneers. Yeah. To the people who began the work but would never experience the joy of that. There's plenty of people we know started a ministry, started a business, started a country. It was hard for them. Yes. You know what I mean? But look what people have on the other end. That's great. That's great. Well, you mentioned briefly Joseph. What would, if you were to, everything about Joseph, when I read that, I see strategy, I see just divine appointment, I see the Lord creating and teaching leadership and all kinds of things. But what kind of principles for planning would you pull out of Joseph's story?
Suck it up. I'm serious. I'm just like, that is the number one. Like, man, no.
I just wasn't ready for suck it up.
I mean, because we like to romanticize the story of Joseph.
Yes.
You had your family betrayal. You had, you know what I'm saying?
I know that story.
Yes. You had family betrayal. You had the dude that you helped get out of prison, betray you.
Forget about you.
Right. You had a woman lie on you, wrongly accused. Like, it's a mix of all of the dramas that we can see, and all the Hallmark, all the different movies put into one movie. And that's the story of Joseph. And, but we just none of us would want to live Joseph's life. Mm-mm. We all want Joseph's results.
I was about to say, we want the glam at the end.
Yes, we want the glam at the end. Yes. But we don't want to live that life. No one is just if you were to say that you got to go through all that Joseph got so that you can be that, no one is signing up for that life.
Right.
And I think that is critical. So when I think about leadership, in the way that he handled it, he had to have some type of resolve in relationship with God, not to turn his hurt into just rage for his siblings, but instead be their covering.
Yeah, compassion.
Right, compassion.
He showed them compassion. Yeah.
All of those things, because leadership is not if people are going to come at you; it's when people are going to come at you. Right now, we are in a time where it's again,
somebody's coming for you.
Somebody is coming for you.
They just looking for you.
And so, as a leader, how can we, prepare that the seasons that we're in, and there's whatever season that we're in, because here's the thing, there's going to be seasons that people are deifying you. And I'll never forget this quote that someone says. They said the same people who deify you will be the same people who crucify you.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's why neither one of them.
I don't want to be involved.
I don't want to be. I don't want don't put me on no pet, all these things. But at the same time, we get more credit than we oftentimes don't deserve for our success. And we get too much credit for the problems.
Right.
And the struggles that's going on. And I think, and the bottom line is that we know that is true. And again, that's going back to, for me and my sports journey, I used to think times, man, I killed that game just to go into the film room.
And be like,
it was okay. I'm sorry, coach. I'm sorry.
My bad.
My bad. But then there would be times when, man, I was like, that was the worst game I hate. I don't even want to see these films. Oh, Lord, I got to go in. And then the coach would be like, all right, D. Lou, that was a good job. Good job. You see that? And it's just and I just really think that life is going to be like that. When we get before Jesus at the Bema seat and he, in the real of our lives, go before us, for those of us who think that we've done really well, we're going to be like, Jesus, I'm so sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and we're going to really see our works like filthy rags, like the Bible talks about.
So, but I'm going back to Joseph. So
Mhm.
your first thing that you would tell a leader based on Joseph's story,
Suck it up.
suck it up. Okay.
That's
Okay.
it. That's the
Okay.
principle.
I love it.
The suck it up principle.
I would say that one, that God, his plans there's not a bunch of shortcuts. That God is going to walk out his plan through stages and not shortcuts, right? That the pit was first.
Mm-hmm.
The prison was second.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was the palace.
Oh, look at you. You preached that before. The pit, the prison, and the palace.
But there was no shortcut to the palace.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
And what did he have to do in between all those? He had to suck it up.
He had to.
He had to suck it up. He had to suck it up in the pit,
Yep.
suck it up in the prison, and suck it up in the palace. And
you know what else, though? Deuce also years ago preached a sermon on Jesus. And when he was preaching this sermon on Jesus, he was talking about Jesus's life beforehand, all those years in obscurity. And I remember listening to that sermon and being like, wow, I feel like Jesus, because at the time, stay-at-home mom, right? My whole life is obscurity. Yeah. My whole life is obscurity. But when I took the first position I took after being at home, I was an event planner at a particular institution. And it was so crazy to me that I drew on all of those things that I had been doing all those years, working behind the scenes at the church, working behind the scenes at the house, working behind the scenes in this place, working behind this. I was able to pull from all that obscurity, right? And I just thought about how it required a level of faithfulness, that we all need to be walking faithfully in our obscurity, so that when the Lord ever gives you the spotlight, one, your track record is yes, faithfulness, but also that you know how to flex those faithfulness muscles.
You gave me like Daniel's son and Mr. Miyagi, Karate Kid vibes. Like, Mr. Miyagi, why am I doing wax on, wax off?
But when you are a person who lives most of their life in obscurity, those are the questions you ask. Yeah. No one cares about me doing this. Yes. I feed these kids. No one cares. I clean this house. No one cares. I do this laundry. Who cares?
Yeah, it's just like you get that motion.
But you're building these muscles.
You're building muscles. And all of a sudden you're learning karate.
One day you're like, oh.
Kung Fu.
Well, let me flex my little cleaning skills or my party throwing skills or whatever. And so I think that that's a thing I take away from Daniel's story, is that in obscurity, there was so much that he was learning.
And obscurity, and again, that obscurity was a season, and that's why it says it's about faithfulness within whatever season that we're in.
Yes.
And again, going back to what I was saying earlier about Genesis, that the through thread, and no matter whatever season people are in, walk with God.
That's good.
Walk with God.
Yep.
Walk with God in that season, whether you're in the winter, the fall, the spring, the summer. Walk with God. That is the loophole. Right. And that we know that we are able to walk with God because of the person and work of Jesus and transferring our trust into him. And I think that to me is just like, that's the cheat code for whatever season that we're in, that can give us a hope that's beyond it. And again, because seasons are real.
Yeah. Well, yes.
and like they real, and they got real issues and real problems that we have.
And they all have their own seasons, got their own seasonings, right?
Yes.
Some of them be real spicy.
Yes.
Okay, but what does it look like then if to surrender a strategy to the Holy Spirit? So I think of Joseph's plan was the Lord's plan. So he didn't have to wonder if this plan was going to work. We're going to store up all this grain. This is what's going to happen. But what does it look like to really say, I'm planning wisely with my money, I'm planning wisely with my team, but I need to surrender my strategy.
It's Joseph before he knew, right? Joseph gave him the words, he gave him the dreams, he was able to do a lot of things, and Joseph had a special relationship with God, but there was moments where Joseph was just trying to figure out he was doing the best that he can, right?
Yeah, because he had some drama. He made some decisions.
Yeah, he made some.
Because some bad ones, but especially with his brother, she'd be like, "Baby, don't say that. Don't say that."
I just think that like all that we can do, I mean, like it's transfer from David to Paul. All we can do is blossom where we're planted. And I think that is the real thing. Again, blossom where we're planted, walk with God wherever we're planted, and be faithful wherever we're planted. And then that is what ends up taking place. And we hope, right? Paul in Acts chapter 15 was talking to Barnabas, and he says, "Hey, Barnabas, let's go back and revisit all the churches that we had a hand in planting." Right? That was the beginning of his second missionary journey, just going back and revisiting. And it was during that time when they were on their way back, going back, they had the Macedonian call.
Okay, I like
and
that.
then the Lord was just like, go here. Right? The question becomes was Paul out of God's will when he was doing what he knew what's best to do based upon the clear revelation that God has given us? Right? There's certain things that as believers that we do the best with the information that we have, and we ask God to bless and to touch and to anoint.
Use it, yes.
But then there are certain times when God specifically comes in and says, Missy, bring your family to Atlanta. And then you're it's just
and
like,
then you fight it and fight it and fight it forever.
And then he brings
and then you're
you.
like, that's not you, Lord. That can't be you.
See, but there's those seasons where it's just like, this is it. And what's interesting is that, remember, like Deuce talking about, like, this is a Macedonian calling.
That's exactly
right.
What he
used those terms.
That's exactly what he said.
But you do as faithful as you can in the season that you're in.
Yes.
And then when God clearly calls you to something, you obey, you listen.
Obey. Yes. Okay, so let's talk about, we don't have a whole lot of time, so because this has been good. But let's talk about spiritual direction and planning. So like, you want to create rhythms, you want to be planners, we want to, and all of us are not naturally that way. I'm not type A. I had never even heard about let's plan out my life in 90-day cycles. I just knew it's January 1st and I need to survive till Christmas break. Lord, get me to Christmas break. Yeah. So what does that look like to create rhythms, but to really do that with a spiritual posture?
Well, first, one of the things I wanted to just recommend anybody on the master class or anything, that we have a master class that talks about this, like maximizing the moment, vision from burden, all of those things that is in there, that I would just say, like, go there. There's a whole master class that we've done on the city syllabus. So I would say that, and you get that at myblvd.co, right? And go city syllabus. So I would like that is the big over. So I'm not going to go through all of that, but I do think the point is what every 90 days for me, the way that I did, and it wasn't because I was this planner either. I was like, let's just go, right? But when I started seeing life, it was actually during the time when I was vice president with NAM, and I was doing all the things, and I was also leading pastor here, lead pastor at Blueprint, all the things. And I was like, man, is this a lot? So I want to be a good steward of God's time. So I need to do it. And so at that point, what I did, I started basically just being able to say, Lord, every 90 days, I want to do a few things, because it seems like you operate every 3 months, right? Because that's the way seasons change. And what I want to do is I want to do 3 things every 90 days. I want to look back, I want to look up, and then I want to look forward, right? And when I look back, Lord, I just really want to spend time with you and to say, Lord, what was working, what was broken, what was missing, what was confusing about my last 90 days, right? And then I want to take those things to you, right? And I want to spend, and again, this is about a 2-day process for me, and this is the getaway times, right? I don't get all the way. We talked about in a moment, we can have reflections of seasons and all that, but there's some times where I'm like, I'm getting away, and I'm saying, all right, these are times where I need to kind of do a little bit more deep work right there. And so I'll do that every 90 days. And I look back, I look up, I look forward, I look up to the Lord's like, God, what would you have for me in this next season? And then I look forward, and then that's when I say, here's 1 or 2 things that I want to accomplish, that I feel like the Lord is putting on me. And again, part of this is overarching narrative that I have, that I feel like the Lord gave me in 2001 to be the last generation to leave the urban context for sound discipleship. And so that becomes the through thread for me. And that's the thing that, like, every season that just stays with me. And it could be to graduate my kids. It can be a lot of different things. But for me, it was like the last generation.
That's so good. That's good. I think it helps to give someone at least, what does a structure look like? Even if I can't take 2 days, like my life as a mom, or, I work multiple jobs, whatever. If I can't take 2 days, I can take some time and devote it to looking back, looking forward, and looking up.
Yeah.
Not in that order, but whatever you just said. Okay, so takeaways. I think we have encouraged people to reorient, to remember, to rest, to release some things, but also to be rebuilding, right?
But you missed one. Suck it up.
You know what? That didn't begin with R, so that's why.
You know,
right? Yes.
Yeah,
but you know what? I will say,
suck that thing up.
I will say, I have had conversations with people that I've been like, this is not a bad season. This is called life.
Yeah.
You're lifing right now.
Yes.
And it's okay. You know what you need to do? Suck it up.
Suck it up.
But I just think that I would invite our listeners to be reflective in this season, to invite the Lord into what he has next for them for 26 and invite him into goal setting. And I would invite listeners to really be willing to lay plans on the altar for what God has for them. Yeah.
That's great.
How about you? So what would you say? This year, I'm trusting God to do what?
Oh, coming in 2026. I mean, we'll talk about a little bit more, but in 2026, I am trusting God to graduate another son. But I think from a Boulevard standpoint, I'm trusting God for expansion, right? 100 missionaries.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it's not for numbers' sakes, but I just think that the harvest is plentiful, but the labors are few. And so, I mean, the Lord tells us to pray to the Lord of the harvest that we would send out more laborers into his harvest. And so that's my prayer, and that's what drives me. I want to see more laborers.
That's so great.
More laborers in the harvest. Great. And and that's our commitment to, like, we want to strengthen. So it's not just about calling them, but we want to strengthen them once they're apart.
That's so great.
Yeah.
That's so great. Well, as you head into the new year, take time to pause, to reflect, and to invite God into your planning. We really need to learn how to reorient, how to remember, how to rest, release, rebuild, and suck it up.
Amen.
Our prayer is that you enter the next season anchored in Christ and led by his peace. Thanks for joining us on My Boulevard. We'll see you next time.